I want to work with how to render these collection for the three different views. So obviously the lateral view is here. If I check my dimensions here, I'm at 300 by 1000. So I know the assignment asked me to do 800 by 564. So I'll use this height value just to kind of keep me at a scale when I render out of Maya, so that I'm not, way larger or way smaller than it need to be. So I'll go down here and say, well, let's make the width 200 and make the height 564. Because I'm gonna render these three individual files and then combine them at the exact size I need. So let's see what that looks like. So if I isolate the side window and make it smaller so I can kind of see how I'm fitting in there. There you go. So obviously I can go much bigger. So I have room. So I want to fill this up. Now, I'll probably end up scaling it down a little bit because I don't want to get necessarily that close to the edges in the final layout, but at least I want to have a good size to work with. So that's my lateral, and if I render that, I can now just keep this for my lateral view. Make sure you have the Save Color Managed Image selected. And I've already got some, so I'll just write over these. Now I'm going to save it as a Photoshop file so that I can have total control over it when I get into Photoshop, okay? All right, so I'm going to re-render that just one more time because I adjusted some of the points, the central vertices, so that I could get a little better spacing here. If you looked at that last version, these things were touching, and so by moving these points around, the control vertices around, I could get a little better spacing. All right, so that's my side view, so I'll save that. Again, make sure you use that. Okay. Now, here's the reason I wanted to make the tape. We can obviously go to the perspective window here and move the camera to get the anterior lateral view. All right. The problem is, how do I get the posterior lateral view? I can turn around that way as well. Okay. But if I really wanted to get an exact opposite, what I could do is get the handle, select the handle, and with the control key, select the root joint and make them a group. And I'd name that group. Usually when I have a group like this, that's the top of all groups, I put it all caps. Let's just do this in English here. Now you don't want to put spaces or any type of comma or anything like that, any kind of punctuation mark. You can use an underscore, but that's it. Right now, you notice right now where the pivot point is, so the next thing I'm going to do is center my pivot point. And now I can turn the entire object around if I want. So I can say it's 0 and be facing the camera the way I want. I can change it a little bit and get even more of an anterior lateral view. Favor the anterior a little bit. And I have a value here then that I can use. So I can render that. And I don't like that quite enough. I want to go even more anterior. So it's just a little easier to control than it is the camera. And because I'm only rotating this one plane, this one axis, I'm not losing or reorientating a number of factors simultaneously. I'm only doing a little bit. Okay. So I can save that. And I'll call this. I already have one, but I'll rewrite it. And then I can go to the opposite view. Again, be restricted to just my y-axis. I can go technically exactly 180 negative. Okay, render that and see how I like it. So I still want a little more posterior. Okay, maybe even just a touch more. Yeah, see what I'm not getting that. Let me rotate that. Come back. Scale this up a little bigger in the window. It's kind of, I accidentally shrunk it. Okay, that's a little better. There we go. That's a little more what I want from the posterior view. And I have another one there. Oh, I'm sorry. I have another one that I'm going to save it as a backup. A lot of times I'll save two versions of the exact same file. I'll call one BU for backup just because it lets me. Now I can go back at this scale. What happens if I go back to, what was it, like 23? So now I can get my anterior. So that's the advantage of doing that group. You're able to control things exactly as opposed to relying on the camera, which you can't see a value for. Now I have those three images. I'll go into Photoshop